We're back with Ed Klein, and we're talking about the relationship between the Clintons and the Obamas. It's fraught. Not enough has been written about it. You've written a fair amount on it. And you say in your latest book that there is real tension between the two families and that Hillary Clinton was actually not the president's first choice for Democratic nominee.
Well, you know, as I wrote, there was and actually still is a blood feud between Obama and especially Bill Clinton. And when Hillary threw her hat into the ring, Obama was looking for an alternative to Hillary.
Yes.
And he tried so hard to get Joe Biden to run. Biden spent so much money on the medical bills for his son, Beau, that he had to sell his house. And Obama even offered to lend him money to keep the house in his possession. That's how close they were.
Wow.
But Biden simply wasn't ready. He was still in this grief, and he said, no, I can't do it. Obama then asked Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts to come to the Oval Office to talk about it, and he pressured her to run, and she said no. So he was left with no choice, according to Valerie Jarrett. And Valerie Jarrett, his big advisor, said, and this is a quote from Valerie to a friend whom I interviewed, getting Obama to support Hillary Clinton was like shoving a toad down his throat.
So why wouldn't, I mean, I've never understood this. Elizabeth Warren, who I think she turned this into Venezuela, but her views are much more in line with those of Democratic primary voters. She had to know that. Why wouldn't she run? I never understood that.
Well, nobody understood it exactly unless you look into her past. There's a lot of skeletons, her past. She used to flip houses. She'd buy houses at a low cost and then sell them high. She lives in a $2.5 million mansion in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She has a cook. She has two maids. I mean, this is a woman who lives like the 1%, and then she goes off and makes these speeches, which are in total contrast to her own private life.
Well, that's Elizabeth Warren lives in a $2.5 million house.
$2.5 million
I don't believe
mansion.
That. I thought she's a woman of the people.
That's what she'd like everybody to believe.
Interesting. That's an interesting story. Ed Klein, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you this morning. Abby Huntsman.
We've got a lot going on this morning. We're tracking Hurricane Matthew, the Category 1 storm, carving a path of destruction along the Atlantic coast, including this crumbling road in southern Florida.
And Leland Vittert is live in Daytona Beach, Florida. Leland, how bad is the damage there?
Oh, pretty bad, Clayton. Good morning to you. That road is about 20 or so miles north of where we are. The devastation isn't sort of widespread and catastrophic, but certainly if you're the owner of this gas station, as that gentleman who's walking around is, seeing it for the very first time, his livelihood totally destroyed, flipped upside down literally by Hurricane Matthew. It's pretty profound and pretty terrible. The flooding is obviously going to be the big issue with this storm going forward. That's exactly what is happening now in Savannah and Charleston as Matthew is making its way north. And the storm surge and the flooding is not only what causes the most damage, but also often what causes the most number of deaths as people try to venture out into that high water. And it comes up just so quickly, especially with Matthew, because the storm surge in the Atlantic is higher than almost anything we've ever seen. And it is the perfect storm surge of a high tide combined with the eye of the hurricane coming along and pushing that water in. Back here in Daytona Beach, the big issue that they are going to be dealing with for a long time to come is beach erosion here, which is critical to the tourism industry. That's the #1 industry in Volusia County. Obviously, you can't have spring break at Daytona Beach without a beach. We talked to Senator Marco Rubio yesterday, who talked about getting millions of federal dollars in to try and get the beach cleaned up. The other big issue, 88% of the people here in Volusia County, 95% of the people in Flagler County just north of us are with some of the 1 million people in Florida who do not have power this morning. If you've ever been in Florida in the middle of October without power, it is absolutely miserable. No air conditioning, no cold water, no ability to really keep any kind of food around, and it could be a couple of weeks now until the power gets turned back on. Florida Power and Light has 40-plus trucks just here in Daytona Beach trying to get the lights turned back on, and Duracell, meantime, has brought down their disaster relief trucks, one here and one up in Charleston, each with 2,000 pounds of free batteries and the ability to charge 45 cell phones at a time, something people here desperately need. Back to you guys.
And we're showing some live photos of Jacksonville. You can see just how bad the flooding is in some of these areas. You can look at that right there.
Well, and these areas were hard hit, as Leland pointing out, many years ago, mid-2000s, of course, multiple hurricanes crisscrossing Florida, and they just, managed to get a lot of these beaches back up and running.
Right.
New Smyrna Beach, and Leland, thanks to you for your reporting there in Daytona. Daytona Beach was decimated there, so they had to rebuild the beaches there. New Smyrna Beach, all through down the Space Coast, so once again washed away.
Yeah, the sun might be up this morning, but a long road ahead for a lot of people. All right, coming up, how is the Clinton camp reacting to the latest WikiLeaks dump? Mike Emanuel is live on the campaign trail next.
Plus, both Clinton and Trump are dealing with new scandals this morning. What impact will it have on tomorrow's debate? Howie Carr is here next to react. 31 days. Scandal rocking both presidential candidates on the eve of their second debate. WikiLeaks releasing Hillary Clinton's long sought-after Wall Street speech transcripts, or at least portions of them, but she still has some fighting words for Donald Trump after his hot mic moment.
Whoa, there's a lot going on. Happily, we've got Mike Emanuel at Washington University in St. Louis, who's got the very latest. Good to see you, Mike.
Good morning, Tucker, Abby Clayton. Good morning to you. Yeah, those controversial comments from Donald Trump, which led to an apology, has led to a response from the Clinton campaign, as you might expect. Hillary Clinton's Twitter account said, quote, "This is horrific. We cannot allow this man to become president." Her running mate Tim Kaine reacted on camera to these latest revelations, and he called out top Republicans like the Speaker of the House.
Paul Ryan was going to campaign with Donald Trump tomorrow, and he has stopped the event. They're not going to campaign, but he hasn't said, I don't support Donald Trump. They're just not going to do the event. So he needs to be asked, and everybody needs to be asked, do you still think this man is qualified to be president?
Then there's the controversy over the apparent hacking of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's email, which reveals some of what Hillary Clinton apparently said in some of those big-dollar Wall Street speeches. According to WikiLeaks, Clinton said in one speech, quote, "But if everybody's watching, all the backroom discussions and the deals then people get a little nervous, to say the least. So you need both a public and a private position." Then a leak suggests Clinton said Wall Street insiders are what's needed to fix Wall Street. Quote, "People that know the industry better than anybody are the people who work in the industry." That's likely to make Senator Bernie Sanders and a lot of his diehard supporters absolutely crazy. They wanted to know what Hillary Clinton was saying in those Wall Street speeches, what she was getting paid so much money to say. And I should note that the Clinton campaign is not confirming the authenticity of those emails, but they're also not denying that Podesta was hacked. Back to you guys in New York.
Unbelievable. 31 days. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Can't make it up. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. All right, we're going to bring in the pride of Boston, Massachusetts, one of the most famous and long-standing columnists and radio show hosts in the hub. Howie Carr joins us this morning. Howie, it's great to see you.
Good morning.
Good to see you guys.
So what do you make of this? You spent your life summing up the news in a wise and pithy way. What's your gut reaction to what we saw last night?
Loose lips sink ships, Tucker, but only for Donald Trump, apparently. I've been watching you this morning talking about the open borders comment from Hillary Clinton. To me, that's a lot bigger gaffe, shall we say, than this P-word controversy going on with Donald Trump. The other thing about the outrage that's being perpetrated out here. I mean, it's not like Bill Clinton is any stranger to the P-word. I mean, look at the Drudge Report. They've got a story about it, or Google Bill Clinton, Vernon Jordan, Martha's Vineyard, and the P word, and see what turns up. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, his comments are indefensible, but do they really rise to the level of outrage that we're seeing? I don't think so.
Howie, is this sort of just a sad state of affairs? You have a lot of people waking up this morning seeing both of these news stories dropped last night, and as you were saying, both sides are trying to say the other one is worse when it comes to women, and here we are 5 weeks before the election, one day before this next big debate. How did we get here? And is this just, a sad state of affairs that we're in? This is sort of a sad time.
Well, that's the way it is. But if you go to the websites of all the major newspapers, there's 6, 7, 8 stories about Donald Trump, and the whole WikiLeaks John Podesta controversy is just it's a sidebar story. It's like an interview with the losing pitcher in a baseball game, and it doesn't seem like they're interested. Well, they're not interested in what Hillary Clinton said. Hillary Clinton, she'd been telling us, she was dead broke when she left the White House. She's making it seem like she grew up in a shotgun shack, and now we find out she's telling Goldman Sachs, well, I'm far removed from the struggles of the middle class. She's telling Lloyd Blankfein basically how tough it is to be a multimillionaire, and again, it's got no traction.
Charles Krauthammer brought it up last night. He said, look, we knew both of these things were true. Hillary Clinton talking to big bangs, right, and these conversations were taking place. We knew that Donald Trump, behind closed doors, would talk this way, sort of disgusting about women. But then when you hear that audio, that's what Charles said that's the damning piece. To hear him saying that, he's running for the presidency of the United States. How do you stand there and talk to your daughter if you're supporting him? That's a big problem for him. How does he fix this? Can he?
I don't know. We're going to see. I mean, he seemed chastened last night in that video that was released late. But I don't know how he can come back from the debate. I was with him on Thursday night in New Hampshire when he was sort of doing a dry run, although he said it wasn't, for the town hall meeting. And he's a smart guy. I think he'll do the best he can to come back. But I don't think that the way to recover here is to throw mud at Bill Clinton.
Right.
What do you think, Tucker? Do you think he should go with that?
I mean, honestly, I'm very frustrated with Trump. I think there's a lot going on in America. I think he's got a fundamentally good message, and he's the only one articulating it, and this just detracts from that. But I'm also mad at the press, not for covering what Trump says. They should cover it. That's legitimate. But for not covering Hillary. I mean, if you think Hillary's got a good shot to be president, and obviously she does, you ought to be vetting her. We got a month to go. Like, the public has a right to know what she's about, and the press has decided we're not going to go there because it might hurt her campaign. That seems irresponsible to me.
Yeah, I agree. I picked up the Boston Globe, my competitor newspaper, today, and they have reactions to Donald Trump's comments from women survivors of sex attacks. I mean, come on. I mean, what about Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey? I mean, again, I guess I'm falling into the trap, responding to attacking Bill Clinton, but it's just totally out of proportion. Every sob sister, every pajama boy in the flailing broadsheets has got this license to take on Donald Trump again, and it's ridiculous.
Well, Howie, quickly, tomorrow night's big debate. Everyone's going to be watching closely. What does he do? These controversies are absolutely going to come up. How does he handle that?
I think he's just got to talk about the real issues, the trade, the fact that she wants open borders, that she wants open trade, the fact that she says that, in these leaked WikiLeaks documents that you have to have a private and a public stance. So she's obviously confirming, what we've known all along about TPP and about open borders and about,
exactly.
and amnesty. He's got to make those points. Forget Bill Clinton's sordid past.
Talk about the issues. I agree. I always agree with Howie Carr, and especially this morning. Thanks a lot, Howie.
Thanks, Howie.
Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Daylight showing the full extent of Hurricane Matthew's wrath. Here is the storm. Where is it heading now? Our live team coverage, it continues right after this. Stick with us. And we are back with a Fox News alert. Hurricane Matthew pounding the coast of South Carolina at this hour. Tornado watches issued in several counties as devastating winds and torrential rain pummeled that region.
We have live team coverage this morning with Jonathan Seri in Folly Beach, South Carolina. But first, we're going to go to Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean, who's been tracking this storm. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning. Yeah, we are tracking the fact that Hurricane Matthew has weakened a little bit, but we need to weaken it a little bit more because it has been a major hurricane now for a week and now down to a Category 1, 85-mile-per-hour sustained winds. The tornado threat is going to be ongoing with some of these outer bands moving inland, and we could see the water spouts, and as they make their way towards the land, they become tornadoes. So weak tornadoes are possible. Tornado watch until 4 p.m. local time. And we have a tornado warning here from one of these feeder bands that's moving across shore near the Wilmington area. So weak tornadoes, but they could cause some structural damage. And I just want to show you some of the wind gusts in and around Hilton Head and Beaufort. 83 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour off the shore of Charleston, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach as well, up towards North Carolina here, New Bern, at least tropical storm force winds. So we're still going to have to deal with not only the storm surge, in some cases 6 to 9 feet above high tide, but heavy rainfall on order of 12 inches plus across South Carolina and North Carolina, and then of course the strong winds that are going to be ongoing. And Jonathan Seri, we've been following you at Folly Beach, and it looks like the winds have calmed down a little bit. You're just around the Charleston area. Give me your locator.
That's right. We're in Folly Beach. It's one of the barrier islands just off the coast of Charleston. And it appears that the wind is beginning to shift direction. And so I can't tell if the winds have temporarily died down or if we're just on a protected side of the building where we're standing in front of our hotel. But the rains, we've been experiencing heavy rains on and off. And then behind me, you can see the surf just battering the pier. Right now, this area is experiencing low tides, so fortunately that's mitigating some of the effects of the storm surge. But some of the barrier island communities further down the coast were experiencing some problems overnight. Edisto Island reporting some water washing up underneath some of the homes there. The state had hoped to have as many as 500,000 people evacuate low-lying areas, but at this point, or as of last night, they had reported 355,000 people had left their homes in low-lying areas. We expect to get an update from the state later this morning. Back to you.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Jonathan. Well, how should Donald Trump handle the latest controversy at this weekend's debate? And what about Hillary Clinton's secret speeches just revealed by WikiLeaks? Strategy for both sides when we come back.
Plus, Geraldo Rivera and Neil Cavuto, they are both here live. You do not want to miss this.
Hillary Clinton and her kind have run our country into the ground. I've said some foolish things, but there's a big difference between the words and actions of other people. Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims.
That was Donald Trump's response last night. With both campaigns facing controversies right now, how do Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump handle the big debate tomorrow night?
Well, Scott Jennings is a Republican strategist and a veteran of 4 presidential campaigns. He's prepped candidates for the debate stage in the past, and he joins us now. Scott, how does he handle this tomorrow night? I mean, this is obviously the biggest story here. He's got to come out and issue some sort of an apology in front of this audience. How does he do it?
Well, if he doesn't come out between now and then, yes, he's going to have to deal with this tomorrow night right out of the top of the show. And that may, alter the outcome of the debate and affect his ability to control the flow of the debate. That's why, if I were the Trump campaign, I would strongly consider some public comments between now and Sunday night, not on a teleprompter, but something straight from the heart that shows real contrition. Otherwise, this whole issue may affect his ability to get control of the debate Sunday, which will then, of course, affect his ability to win the debate in the eyes of the voters.
Yeah, you say control the debate, but also he's got to control the message, and the economy we've talked about a lot this morning is where he continues to do well in the polls, and something that everyone is saying he needs to revert back to. How does he do that in this sort of town hall type format, which he's done a number of times, but it's more intimate? You also have the audience taking part in it as well.
Yeah, he needs some questions from the audience that deal with trade and jobs. In the last debate, when he got on these topics, he was really strong, and that was right at the top of the debate. And you see he's still winning this in some of the surveys. He'd be better on the economy than Hillary Clinton. So he needs some good questions from the audience. He also needs to try to pivot on any question, any topic. He needs to try to restore the control of the debate to the area of economy and jobs, so he can say, look, what really matters to people is, do I have a job? Can I pay for my kids' education? Am I going to have a better quality of life? for my children and grandchildren. Everything has to return to that bucket for him, and to the extent the debate gets off that track, it's going to be hard for him to control, and it will not be a good night.
I mean, Scott, you can just feel the train coming down the tracks right now, right? I mean, how do you... Yeah, we all want people to be talking about the economy, but when you have all these Republicans now defecting, saying they're pulling their support for him, there's rumblings that they're asking, you know, should Mike Pence step in his place and run for president? How do you handle that at a debate? You want to get back on message and talk about the economy, and the moderator and people in the audience are asking you about, you know, whether or not you're even going to be the candidate after the night.
Tough.
It's a great question, and it's why I would strongly consider public comments or even a press conference between now and then, because when those kinds of questions come up at the debate, you can say, look, I held a press conference or I made a speech. I'd love people to watch that. Tonight I want to talk about, you know, fill in the blank issues that you actually want to be talking about. But if he doesn't make public comments between now and the debate, he will have to answer those questions, and every minute lost on those questions at the debate is a minute he's not talking about the economy, which is a minute lost to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Wow. We'll all be watching closely. Scott Jennings, thanks for being with us this morning. Good to see you.
Thank you.
The whole thing just feels dirty. Both sides. The WikiLeaks stuff, this stuff. Oh,
it's a lot.
Well, what does Geraldo think about these latest scandals for both
candidates? You think
candidates?
he has an opinion?
I think he does. He's going to join us on the Kirby Couch next. Tucker, please escort Mr. Geraldo into the building.
Look at those two. Who wants to miss this? Good morning. It is Saturday, October 8th. I'm Abby Huntsman, and this is a Fox News Alert. Wow, look at that. Well, daylight revealing the full extent of Hurricane Matthew's wrath. At least 4 are dead. Entire cities are underwater and more than 1 million people without power. We've got live team coverage.
And it turns out all the news happens on Saturdays these days. An unprecedented apology from Donald Trump for his hot mic moment.
I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them.
A presidential race turned upside down a month before Election Day. We've got all the details and the implications.
And that wasn't the only overnight shocker. Hillary Clinton also in for an October surprise thanks to WikiLeaks.
Now, I kind of think if you get paid a couple of $100,000 for a speech, must be a great speech. I think we should release it and let the American people see what that transcript was.
Well, somebody wake up Bernie Sanders, because we've got those transcripts of the speeches this morning. Our very first look at Hillary's Wall Street speeches and what she was trying to hide. Fox and Friends Hour 4 starts right now.
And we do start with this Fox News alert. Hurricane Matthew carving a path of destruction along the East Coast. These Florida beach houses left in ruins after the now Category 1 storm rolled through.
Even this fighter jet facing fierce winds and rains on the USS Yorktown in Charleston, South Carolina.
More than 1.4 million people across the East Coast are without power right now as Matthew continues to move through the Atlantic. And Bill Melligan from our Fox 46 Charlotte affiliate is live in Charleston this morning. We're going to go to him, but we also want to start with Janice Dean, who's live in our weather center with the very latest there. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning. We're watching Charleston very carefully. A really strong band went through the area with at least tropical storm force winds, and they're getting the rain, as you saw in that live shot. And we'll definitely talk to Bill in just a second. But we have watches to talk about. Tornado watch until 4 p.m. local time for parts of South Carolina and North Carolina, where we could see weak tornadoes that could cause some structural damage because we've got these outer bands moving across land. We've already got that rotation in place. Forecast rainfall really could be staggering in some of these areas, upwards of a foot, and the ground is saturated. So you saw that tree coming out of the ground with its roots. That's the type of thing that we could see, and power outages are going to be imminent all along the east coast of South Carolina up towards North Carolina and maybe even Virginia. And you can see the flood advisories that we have in place. So not done yet, still a Category 1, hopefully offshore by tomorrow afternoon. And we will be so happy to say goodbye to Hurricane Matthew.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Janice.
Thanks, Janice.
And we want to get to Bill Melligan, who's live in Charleston, South Carolina, along the Battery there, which is a really beautiful part of town where people go jogging along the water, and those $1 million homes that are, looks like they're underwater, Bill.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Obviously not the best time for some jogging right now. The Charleston Harbor directly behind us. The seawall here has officially breached. We've been watching the waves come over the wall, and this flooding that you're looking at right now is a result of that. Let me kind of take a step out of the way so you can see what we're looking at here. This park right here is completely underwater. We haven't gone to see how deep it is, but taking a look at the fire hydrant that's kind of halfway submerged, we're guessing at least a foot, maybe up to 2 feet of water submerging this entire park area right now. Now, we wanted to get up to the railing to kind of show you guys the waves coming up over that seawall, but our first camera broke. The waves, the water, the rain, all too intense. And as you were mentioning, there are some really nice homes up here. There are some million-dollar historical home properties right here, some of which are flooded. The yards are flooded. And the good news here is that this part of Charleston is an absolute ghost town right now. There is nobody, okay? You'll remember Governor Nikki Haley said she wanted at least 1 million folks to evacuate from the area. They only got about 300,000, which they weren't too happy about. They shut down I-26 to all traffic going into Charleston. They wanted everybody going out. And listen to this, the National Weather Service, they gave us some information saying that at Fort Sumter, that's a civil, about to lose my hat here, that's the Civil War, that's where the Civil War first started off in Charleston Harbor. There goes the hat. They got a wind gauge, or they got a storm surge rating of over 9 feet. Okay, that is third highest in history for Fort Sumter. That's right behind Hurricane Hugo back in 1989. So as you can see here, the full wrath of Hurricane Matthew here in Charleston. This park flooded. We've been watching this water come over the wall, and again, we do have to point out, we've seen some folks, they're curious evidently. They've been trying to drive through these floodwaters to get up to the battery to take a look at the waves. Obviously extremely ill-advised. You've all heard the saying, turn around, don't drown. Thankfully, those drivers did end up turning around, but had this water been a little bit deeper, their cars could have gotten stuck. It could have been a very, very messy situation. So we're going to keep staying reporting live out here in Charleston for you guys, giving you the latest coverage. And again, we heard you guys had a reporter out in Folly Beach. That's obviously getting hit pretty hard as well.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, go get that hat.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Stay
Bill.
safe
Doing
out
a great
there.
job out there in Charleston. Thanks,
Bill. Beautiful area, too. It's so sad. All right, another big story this morning. Donald Trump offering a rare apology for those leaked decade-old comments that he made about women. Here is a portion of that.
I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Fox News senior national correspondent John Roberts is covering the fallout this morning from St. Louis on the eve of the second presidential debate. Good morning, John.
And good morning to you, Clayton, Tucker, and Abby. That tape gets a lot more vulgar than that, too, but we figured that you didn't need to have that along with your Cheerios this morning, so we'll save that for later on in the day. But suffice it to say that this tape release comes at the worst possible time for Donald Trump. He was hoping to make a real comeback in tomorrow night's debate here at Washington University in St. Louis. He's been practicing hard all week. He did that town hall in preparation for it on Thursday night, and then this comes out, and now he's seeing a lot of Republicans who are turning their backs on him. So late last night, the campaign made the decision that the only way to try to get ahead of this, at least at the very beginning, was to make a non-repentant apology, if you will. So just after midnight last night, Donald Trump released on Twitter and Facebook this message. Here's a part of it.
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize.
It remains to be seen whether or not this can fix some of the damage, because a lot of it has already been done. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell sent out a statement yesterday in which he said, quote, "These comments are repugnant and unacceptable in any circumstance." Illinois Senator Mark Kirk, who has had a long-running feud with Donald Trump, tweeted this out yesterday. "DJT is a malignant clown, unprepared and unfit to be president of the United States." And his running mate, Mike Pence, was said to be, quote, beside himself, his wife Karen furious over what was revealed yesterday. But at a rally in Rossford, Ohio, which occurred after the story broke, his running mate, Mike Pence, didn't seem to indicate that anything was amiss at all. Listen to this.
And when he does his talking, he doesn't go tiptoeing around all those thousands of rules of political correctness that the media puts in the way of men and women that want to make a difference.
So Donald Trump today is going to be engaged in debate preparation. We understand that the RNC chairman, Reince Priebus, who is also very critical of those remarks, and Chris Christie will be working with him, at least for a time, because Reince Priebus will be heading out to Wisconsin for the Fall Fest event, at which Donald Trump was supposed to appear on stage campaigning for the first time with the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan, who said he was sickened by Donald Trump's comments yesterday, disinvited Mr. Trump, so Mike Pence will be taking his place on the stage today.
John Roberts. Crazy, crazy morning in the world of politics. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
From St. Louis.
All right, Geraldo's here to break this all down. So, Geraldo, I don't think there's much controversy about the fact these are bad comments. I don't see anyone defending him. I don't think anyone's going to defend him. You know Trump well. The mystery for me is, what does he do next? How does he respond to this?
Well, how do you respond to a nuclear attack? I think that right now his campaign is on life support. This is an existential crisis. Republicans are deserting the sinking ship. Abby's dad, the former governor of Utah, among others, calling on Trump to withdraw from the race. You have, these comments are so grotesque in the context of this heightened sensitivity to sexual assault and sexual harassment that no one's going to laugh this off. The fact that he made that extraordinary midnight apology, I think that might have been helpful, but when you compare his apology to Billy Bush's, Billy Bush said, "I'm ashamed, I'm deeply embarrassed." Billy Bush's apology was more profound and sincere, it sounded to me, than Donald Trump's, which seemed reluctant. "I'm not a perfect person, I've made mistakes." All Hillary Clinton has to do at the debate tomorrow is read a list of all the Republicans who have deserted him or are deserting him, unendorsing, disendorsing him, and read some of the comments by Reince Priebus and some of the others. Paul Ryan is supposed to be this big rally in Wisconsin today. Paul Ryan disinvited him. The person I feel worst for is probably Mike Pence, aside from Melania Trump and the family. I think it's deeply, deeply unsettling to them. These comments, even in the context of 2005. 2005 is the current world we live in. It's not like you're not going back to the deep into the 90s or the Mad Men era of the 1970s. He was 59 years old, Donald Trump.
No, I got it. I mean, nobody's for it, for sure.
But it's not a question of being for it or against it, Tucker. I think that you have to face the fact that here you have the story of WikiLeaks dumps the email story and the speeches, the Wall Street speeches now are revealed, and you read them, and there's a modest embarrassment for Secretary Clinton in there, and it is front page, a minor front page story, but blared everywhere is Trump, the misogynist.
Okay, but hold on. Are you being? Look, I'm not. I was offended by what Trump said, and I'm mad at Trump for saying it. Period. However, Hillary Clinton said, "I'm for open borders." Quote. I'm not mischaracterizing. She said that. Now that will destroy America like that. Well, is there really a comparison?
To me, the main thrust of her message, and this is where you catch her in hypocrisy and double dealing, and this is why she sought to suppress these speeches, was that she is for world trade. She is, she wants, in the classic Republican model, the business Republican, the Bush Republican model, she wants the world to freely trade, and then Sanders came along, and she had to go hard left and become protectionist, and NAFTA now suddenly is no good anymore.
Would she be the nominee today if these speeches came out a few months ago?
Oh, I think she was the inevitable nominee.
If the things that came out, you mentioned the open borders, another thing that came out was that she felt like she was, because she makes too much money, she's disengaged from the middle class. Right. And that she doesn't, but she would say publicly that she was a part of their plight.
Okay, now put that alongside a man who is saying how he enjoys assaulting women, putting his hand in their private parts. I get them all because I'm a celebrity. I just go up to him, I grab him, I kiss him. He reminded me of a subway groper.
Right.
I mean, this is when you ask anybody, I bet you go outside, ask anybody, and particularly Christian people, religious people, ask them what they think, and compare these moral offenses. This is not even close.
So what does Donald Trump do tomorrow night?
So
Because
open
everyone's
borders,
gonna,
really?
Well, this will come up tomorrow, right? I'm sure he'll bring up the WikiLeaks. She's going to bring up, the hot mic moment. What does he do tomorrow night? People are going to be watching
I
this
think
very
that
closely.
his apology, Abby, has to be far more heartfelt, and I understand that his tactic will be to say, Bill Clinton said worse than me, Bill Clinton did worse than me, Hillary Clinton covered up Bill Clinton's offenses and all the rest. That, I think, is he's got to go gutter now. Aside from apologizing, he's got to now say, okay, this is me, and I'm exposed, and I'm embarrassed, and I'm hurt, and I'm frustrated, but here's a belly shot to you, and here's a gut shot to you, and Clinton's a rapist, and you covered it up, and how dare you come after me? He's got to, and it is a desperate effort. I think you're going to hear a tsunami of GOP voices now saying, drop out, you got 30 days, let Mike Pence be the top of the ticket, bring in Paul Ryan in the second slot or somebody like that. Right now it's Hail Mary time for the GOP, and to hold out hope that the Clinton email or World Trade or Open Borders is going to save you for the raw, visceral nature of this scandal. I think you're just not reading the papers.
All right, Geraldo.
We'll see.
Thanks for being here this morning. Interesting times.
Neil Cavuto and Judge Jean will both be in St. Louis for the debate. They're both coming up to weigh in on all of this. Don't miss that.
Plus, what do the candidates need to do to win tomorrow night's debate? Your responses pouring in. Carly Shimkus here to share some of those.
There's Carly.
When we come back. And welcome back. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton facing major controversies as they head into their second debate. What do they need to do to come out on top?
Here with what our viewers are saying is Fox News Headlines. Carly Shimkus. Carly, we're all waking up this morning. Our viewers as well. Just what is going on?
Oh, my gosh. Well, two big scandals, and interestingly, both kind of play into pre-existing criticisms of both candidates, right? So one of Trump's saving graces, though, this morning is that he came out and apologized. So Randy on Facebook says, Trump apologized and Hillary has never apologized for anything in her life. I want to hear about jobs, the economy, national security, and immigration. I would never vote for Hillary ever. But some say Clinton's comments aren't nearly as bad as Donald Trump's. Thomas on Facebook says, you don't excuse poor behavior by pointing to other poor behavior. We should expect more from our nominee.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's what Howie Carr said earlier. He said, I don't think apologizing and then also tying Bill Clinton to your apology is a smart move.
There's no reason to do that. And
yeah, that attack dog style that Trump usually goes on. Some people are criticizing him this morning. And you know what, though? Kim on Twitter is a big Trump fan. She says, no, it isn't nice, but get over it. As women, I am still supporting Trump. Hillary is far worse for women than Trump. So that's an interesting comment from Miss Kim. But Angel says neither issue matters. We got to focus on what really matters. She says America needs to focus. There are far bigger issues than Trump's open mic comments and Clinton's speeches. Let's get back to reality. Face the issues, not the schoolyard tactics.
Yeah, that's so well said, and we've been talking about that all morning long. That is what the focus needs to be, and that is so sad that 5 weeks before this election, that is nowhere near what we are even talking about.
Yeah, you're
that's
absolutely
what voters
right.
care about.
And interestingly, Google Trends released some data on what people are searching for prior to these debates, and the #1 searched issue is abortion, not ISIS, not the economy. So it really speaks to how important that female vote is.
Well, that Pence moment in the VP debate was really bracing. I mean, it was one of those rare things where you heard a guy talking about what he clearly believes rather than just what his pollsters told him to say.
Absolutely.
And two, an issue that everyone's embarrassed to talk about, but a lot of people feel really strongly about.
You're absolutely right. So he, after that VP debate, saw high praise on social media as well because of his honesty.
And that's why you're hearing rumblings this morning among some GOP elite. Replace Trump with Pence.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
A lot going on this morning. Carly, thanks for breaking it down.
Unbelievable.
Interesting to hear what other people are saying about it.
Absolutely.
Well, it goes without saying, there's an awful lot going on in the presidential race. There's just a month to go. Whoa! What will be the effect on tomorrow's debate? There is one from St. Louis. We will be there. But first, we have a great political panel back to chew it over, so don't miss that.
What a morning. Brand new scandals rocking both presidential campaigns on the eve of the next debate. Donald Trump forced to make an apology after a decade-old recording reveals the candidate making lewd comments about women, while WikiLeaks released parts of Hillary Clinton's Wall Street speech transcripts. Here to react is our political panel this morning: Shelby Holliday, Wall Street Journal senior video reporter; John Burnett, Republican strategist; and Evangeline Gomez, a Democratic strategist. All right, let's dive into it, guys. There's, rumblings this morning. How in the world does Donald Trump walk this back? How does he come out tomorrow night and, I don't know, parry some of these things that he's going to have to face? Shelby, first to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough thing that he's going to have to answer to in the first place, but he was supposed to spend the weekend preparing for his debate, and you can only imagine he's spending today just running through damage control answers. How do you respond to this? What excuses do you make? He's probably not focusing on those downfalls that he had in the previous debate.
Evangeline, does he need to come out and give a speech? We heard from Scott Jennings earlier in the show of a strategist who said he's got to come out and give a speech before the debate. Does he need to do that? Will that help?
Well, the video to many people did not help. I don't know, given Trump's, his way of speaking, his way of delivering speeches, I don't know if that's going to work in this situation.
John, Charles Krauthammer had said basically, look, we all know that this is how Donald talks. But now that we have the audio, it's more troubling. That we all knew that this is Donald, right? He's the lewd guy. He's the joking guy in the locker room. So does anyone care at the end of the day? Like, we know that this is how he is. So, yeah, is this going to affect him in any kind of way?
Well, now we know it wasn't about the size of Trump's hands, but what he's been doing with them. What Trump should do is continue to offer a sincere apology, because to your point,
everyone has sincere apology. Was that apology we saw last night?
It was a good first step. Good first step, but some people haven't seen or heard the video, right? So he has to continue to offer a sincere apology and leave attacking Clinton's, sexual escapades alone. Leave it up to the surrogates to do that, so that way his apology stands on its own. Go ahead.
The White House is no place for a sexual predator, and I think we need to stop minimizing what was said. It's very important.
Okay, but you know what you know, but you know what's going to happen.
We know
right?
what we know, not through innuendo.
No, but we know
but we heard him on a video.
The White House is no place for a sexual predator. But then, of course, Donald Trump, in his apology, talks about Bill Clinton as a sexual predator, and he brings up Bill Clinton in the same verse.
Legal cases based upon the allegations that he's a rapist. So therefore, I mean, if you say
you're saying that with a straight face, though, you don't think that?
Wait a second. Can you please tell me what cases did he settle where he was a rapist?
There's plenty of...
I was in college during that time, and I was a political science major. I don't recall any case that he settled where he was a rapist. So please tell me.
There's several allegations.
I mean, that's serious. He's a rapist.
Several allegations.
Shelby, help us get out of the
consensual sex versus rape, they're just different things.
This boils down to a referendum in this election. People will be voting on gun rights, education, women's rights, and so forth. So people need to vote their issues.
Shelby,
yes, but they're distracted by these bigger issues, and so therefore gun laws don't matter to them because they can't stand behind a president who says lewd things about women. I have talked to voters who say this time and time again. Now Donald Trump's back at the beginning. He has to make amends with the Republican leaders, the leaders of his party, and he's also getting crushed by Hillary Clinton.
Let's talk about the transcripts, because these transcripts are a big deal. WikiLeaks, we were wondering what was in these bank transcripts that she's been speaking to these Wall Street banks for so long. We get finally a glimpse of these. I offer, she would not be the nominee today if these came out 5 months ago during the Democratic primary. Do you believe that she would be?
I believe she would be.
You believe that?
I do. Because guess what? When you're a president, you have to work with various people across the aisle, and you have to work with different sectors. Wall Street, financial institutions are a sector, and you cannot say, I'm not going to deal with you. Let's be a socialist economy. That's not going to happen.
Would she be the nominee today if these transcripts came out a few months ago?
Not likely. And the thing is, it's not. You have to appeal to multiple constituents, but you also have to tell the truth. You can't say one thing in private and then one thing in public.
Would she tell the truth? She didn't lie about anything.
That's a really fair question to ask, because this is So much. So hold on. I want to get to like what she actually said, which was she was telling Wall Street executives, you're important in terms of reform. And that's exactly what Bernie Sanders wanted to see and wanted her to release. She's been saying to these Wall Street insiders, I want you to be part of the process. That is not what the Elizabeth Warrens of the world want. That is not what liberal
open trade and open borders.
Open borders?
That's
Where did
clear.
she say open borders? Where did she say it?
She said
talking about open trade in terms of open trade, and there's a difference. And she didn't endorse anything. She wanted to facilitate a conversation.
Kill jobs from the inner city to our rural areas. That's clear. That's conclusive.
Republicans supported free trade. Republicans supported free trade.
We got to wrap it up. Holy smokes! This is just a preview.
What's the comment?
Tomorrow night.
Yes.
Enjoy the ride.
Important debates in American history.
Watch it.
Great to see you this morning.
Thank you. Great to see you, too.
We are keeping our eye on Hurricane Matthew. Janice Dean is tracking the storm's path. There's another huge story we're following for you. And then Neil Cavuto and Judge Jeanine Pirro will be in St. Louis for the big debate. They're both coming up to weigh in on all of this. Don't miss it. Plus, someone wake up Bernie Sanders. Hillary's Wall Street speeches have finally been revealed, or at least part of them. Why this issue is important and what it could mean for Democrats going forward.
And we are back now with a Fox News alert. Hurricane Matthew pounding the coast of South Carolina at this hour. Tornado watches issued in several counties as devastating winds and torrential rain pummel that region.
Janice Dean has been in the Weather Center for, it looks like, days now, and she's got the very latest on the storm. No, you can't tell, Janice.
Well, we have magicians for hair and makeup. And I have to give a big shout out to Rick Reichmuth, too, who's been taking the overnight shift. So, I've been really lucky to do the daytime hours, and he's been doing the overnight. So I hope Rick is sleeping. Okay, let's take a look at it right now. The good news is this storm is weakening, finally, but it is still 75-mile-per-hour sustained winds. We have the risk for storm surge along vulnerable coastline of the Carolinas up towards North Carolina, and then we also have the threat of heavy rainfall and tornadoes. And you mentioned this tornado watch in effect for parts of South Carolina and also South Carolina, North Carolina until 4 p.m. locally, and that's because we've got these outer rain bands that are scraping the coastline, and we've already got that rotation, that weak rotation, so the potential for tornadoes exists. The good thing is they have lifted the tornado warning around the Wilmington area. The wind gusts have been really incredible along the coast here, and you've got vulnerable coastline here with the storm surge anywhere from 6 to 9 feet. We're seeing historic storm surge on areas that have never seen this amount of water being piled up on the shoreline. The wind gusts have been really incredible along Florida and the southeast coastline with wind gusts in excess of 107 miles per hour. And there's the future radar, so we're going to continue to monitor this for the next 12 to 24 hours, and then finally Matthew will be offshore. But this has been an incredible storm, a major hurricane for a week, and that's historic. So we'll be happy to see Matthew go, and then of course a lot of people are going to be assessing the damage in the days to come.
Yeah, long road ahead. Yeah. Janice, thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Well, a bombshell revelation for the Clinton campaign. WikiLeaks just released Hillary Clinton's closed-door Wall Street speeches. They seem to be real. These are the very speeches Bernie Sanders has been demanding for months.
Clinton had been promising to look into those, releasing those speeches. Of course, that never happened.
And now it has. Kristen Fisher joins us now with more on this story. A bombshell, another one last night.
How many times have y'all said bombshell today?
But all of the advocates, I don't know.
All of these stories warrant it. They really do. This one, for months now, Hillary Clinton has been called on to release the transcripts of her paid speeches to financial firms. It was a very contentious issue throughout the Democratic primaries. Remember, Senator Bernie Sanders even confronting her head-on about it during a debate in March.
One of us has given speeches on Wall Street for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I kind of think if you get paid a couple of $100,000 for a speech, must be a great speech. I think we should release it and let the American people see what that transcript was.
And I have said, and I will say again, I'll be happy to release anything I have as long as everybody else does too.
And that's not the only time the subject would be brought up to Hillary Clinton in the coming months. At a debate in April, she was asked, if there's nothing in those speeches that you think would change voters' minds, well, why not just release the transcripts and put the whole issue to rest? Well, listen to her response.
There isn't an issue. when I was in public service, serving as the senator from New York, I did stand up to the banks. I did make it clear that their behavior would not be excused.
And in one of the leaked speeches, Clinton essentially implied that Wall Street insiders are what's needed to fix Wall Street, which directly contradicts what she had said so many times on the campaign trail. And that really just plays into that whole argument that she doesn't always say what she means.
Yeah, the whole trustworthiness issue that continues to follow.
Seems
her.
like a valid argument. Just throwing that out there.
Just a bit. Thank you, Kristen.
Great to see you. Thank you.
All right, we want to bring in Neil Cavuto, host of The Cost of Freedom, right here on the Fox News channel. And, of course, he's out in St. Louis ahead of the big, huge, monumental debate. Neil, great to see you this morning. And Neil, one of the issues that we've been talking about this morning a little bit is this is Bill Clinton's comments last week, I believe, about Obamacare, and Ed Klein on our show earlier saying that this was all scripted, came right from the White House. Listen to Bill Clinton in case you missed it.
You've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half. It's the craziest thing in the world.
So premiums going through the roof on the insurance side, insurance companies bailing. We saw what happened in Tennessee this week. Is this going to be a subject of the debate, you think, Neil?
Well, it should be. It's interesting, too, if you think about it. Less than 24 hours later, someone must have gotten to Bill to say, could you rein that back just a little bit to say that the benefits are still trumping all the problems we're having here? And he did a little bit to say about the millions who are now insured, who weren't insured. Of course, the irony that he was pointing out just the day earlier in that clip that you alluded to was that this is costing tens of millions of Americans more through the nose. Now, kind of, the focus seems to be a lot on what Donald Trump was saying about women 11 years ago, and not so much these emails. I think the focus obviously should be on all of the above. How much each gets played tonight is anyone's guess, but we're going to be looking at the fallout from what Donald Trump said, the fallout from these Hillary Clinton emails, and the fallout, of course, on this hurricane. But it is important to point out, and I caught your prior guest talking about the Clinton emails. Another little bombshell in those emails is what she thinks of unbridled trade and trade agreements. As you know, she's come out against this Trans-Pacific Partnership deal, and yet in a lot of these comments she was making to the Wall Street community, she was embracing what she called unfettered trade. It fuels an argument that does Hillary Clinton say one thing to a political audience and another to a private audience that wouldn't be the first time a politician's been charged with that. But I just think it's fair in this time and age where we're focused on what people were saying years ago to focus on this. A candidate was saying this actually not more than months ago.
That's what's frustrating. It does seem like the national conversation is being controlled by the people in power who are all aligned on one side. So you've got big business, you've got Hollywood, the political class, and of course academia, all aligned on Hillary Clinton's side and squelching conversation that doesn't help her and elevating conversation that does. It seems like a lot of power in a small number of hands, doesn't it?
What worries me more to the point is if you're going to go after one candidate, and by the way, have at it. But 4 years ago, we can all remember going after Mitt Romney and the famous, probably more like infamous 47% remark comments made to donors. Far less zeal in publicizing Hillary Clinton's comment to donors, talking about a variety of issues, even when it came to trade positions. I think fair is fair. Go after both. Maybe they'll touch on that in this debate, but we tend to see here a sort of a selected choosing.
Neil, what happens from here? Because I don't think anyone hearing the hot mic comments are saying this, they stand by that. But what happens from here for Donald Trump? Because he was supposed to do this event with Speaker Paul Ryan today. Now Mike Pence is doing it. You also have some prominent Republicans speaking out about this, saying this is time for Mike Pence to come forward. How does Donald Trump handle this tomorrow night in the debate, and what do you think this means going forward for him and for the Republican Party?
I wish I knew. Every time you count him out with either an outrageous statement or a controversial comment, I think Tucker mentioned you go all the way back to, the John McCain issue, and he's really not a hero. I don't know where you go. I just think that everyone has counted him out, and if I had a dime for each and every comment that elicited that, well, I'd have a lot of dimes. I don't know. I think it's fair to say going into the revelation of these comments, Donald Trump was having a tough time with female voters. voters. I'm sure this doesn't help matters any. But he is still very competitive in polls even prior to this. After it, again, no idea. But it's obviously something he's been able to rebound from in the past. He apologized for those remarks. Some are criticizing the sincerity of that. Be that as it may, it's the first time we've heard him do that. He might just use this as a good opportunity to say, well, I didn't act on this sort of stuff. Your husband did. It could be the old nuclear option in the debate, which could change not only the tone of the debate, but this race itself in the final month.
Right.
You'll see more of Neil Cavuto live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The Cost of Freedom is live from St. Louis ahead of the big debate. The great Neil Cavuto. Neil, great to see you this week.
We'll be watching, Neil. Thank you.
I like that. I like the great thing. All right. Thanks, guys, very much.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Thanks, Neil.
All right, back to our top story this morning. Hurricane Matthew's path of destruction along the Atlantic coast. A massive cleanup underway at this hour. Our live team coverage continues next.
Plus, Judge Jeanine is heading to St. Louis for tomorrow's debate. What is she expecting? She'll join us live in just minutes. Stay tuned.
We are back with a Fox News alert tracking the path of destruction of Hurricane Matthew. What it caused in Florida. Entire cities are now underwater. More than 1 million people without power, and at least 4 people in the state are now dead.
Garrett Tenney is in Jacksonville, Florida, with the latest on the cleanup efforts there. Hey, Garrett.
Hey, good morning, y'all. Hurricane Matthew is long gone from here, but we are still seeing some winds kick up, the occasional rainfall as well. The storm surge, which was the biggest concern among officials all along the coastline, it is mostly receded. But Jacksonville and Jacksonville Beach along the coastline where we are, a lot of these areas are very low lying. Right where we are, this is that's why there's still a lot of this flooding, a couple feet. You can see right here in front of me, this is some of the debris from looks like a dock or a pier or something that was on the beach about 100, 150 yards from here. You can see this parking lot right next to us. It's completely dry. That's because it is more raised, but you can see debris throughout the parking lot from where this storm surge was coming yesterday. Take a look at what it looked like just 24 hours ago. Right where we are is Hurricane Matthew was sending the pounding waves of the ocean all the way into downtown Jacksonville Beach, flooding the first several blocks of the city. Now, to get an idea of just how powerful this storm was as well, take a look at this video we shot of the Jacksonville Beach Pier, or at least what's left of it. 24 hours ago, that pier was about 100 yards longer than it is right there. It was originally destroyed by Hurricane Floyd back in the late 90s. It was rebuilt and was supposed to be able to withstand a hurricane. Clearly, the 100 yards there at the end of it did not. Now, take a look around here in this neighborhood. You can see this flooding goes for blocks. These pipes essentially here that are in the road, they're tethered, weighted down. The city set those up to try and block some of the storm surge from working its way into the inner side. Thankfully, the damage is not what they thought it could be. Death total has stayed the same, but this morning we're learning at least 14 people have been hospitalized due to carbon monoxide poisoning when they were running generators inside their home throughout this storm. Back to y'all in New York.
Every storm you see that. It's always awful. Thanks a lot, Garrett.
Long road ahead. Thank you, Garrett.
Well, Donald Trump's hot mic comments are getting a ton of coverage this morning. But does that make Hillary's past fair game too at tomorrow's debate? Judge Jeanine Pirro joins us with her view on that. Stay tuned. Well, it's hard to remember a Saturday morning in my lifetime that had more political news than this morning's has. And so we're bringing in now our old friend Judge Jeanine Pirro, host of a show here on Fox, who knows everybody involved in this controversy. Judge, you there?
I am here.
Good morning, Judge.
Well, I'm probably like the rest of the country, a little bewildered, trying to figure out what to think about all of this, and that's why we're trying to get your take on it. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I mean, the statements are devastating. The words are disgusting. It is awful. It's the kind of language that none of us want to hear. But let me put this in perspective for you. It was 11 years ago with a man who was in television. Sounds like a couple of locker room rants with a couple of guys egging each other on. But here's the bottom line. I don't know if anybody is really so stunned by this that it deserves the wall-to-wall coverage that it's getting. And I'm going to get to Hillary in a minute. But the most important part of all of this is It was 11 years ago. We've now got a man who apologized, and to some people it wasn't a sufficient enough apology. Okay, I'm sure that he's going to probably do more in the next 24 hours. But the bottom line is this. America's in a mess. Who do you want? Do you want a guy who's got a past, who admits to you that he's got a past, who is not, he didn't plan to run for president? Or do you want a two-talking woman who hides everything that she says, denies the truth until it's put in front of her, and then she'll still deny it and say, don't believe your lying eyes? We've got problems in this country. We've got problems with jobs, with ISIS. We want to take care of our families. We don't want our kids to be in debt for the next few generations. And you know what? If you want things the way they are, well, then you go right ahead and ignore what WikiLeaks did and released about Hillary Clinton talking. Then you know who should be furious right now? The Bernie Sanders supporters should be furious. They are the ones who got taken by Hillary Clinton. But to go back to Donald, yeah, it's disgusting. It's awful. You're damn right it is. But you know what? This is a time for us to buck up and figure out what's right for us, our children, and our pocketbook. And if you want more of the same from the last 8 years, well, then you go right ahead and trash Donald Trump. You go out there and say Hillary is, a saint, is a saint. But that's not the case.
Yeah,
and that's all I have to say about it. And I'm on my way to St. Louis, and you'll hear more from me tonight on this. But I got to tell you.
Well, Judge, quickly.
I got to say one. Yeah.
Before you go, though, I mean, because you are on the way to the debate, what is going to happen tomorrow night? Because a lot of people are going to be watching this very closely. It's going to be a more intimate town hall format. What does Donald Trump say? How does he handle this? And how much does he bring up, as you mentioned, the WikiLeaks from Hillary Clinton and the speeches that she gave to Wall Street? How much should he make that a part of it?
Well, I think that Donald Trump has to learn, and I've said this before, how to prosecute Hillary Clinton. And right now what he's got to do is he's got to get aggressive. He has to show several sides of himself tomorrow night. He's got to show the side where he is embarrassed, he is ashamed, he is sorry, but what he's got to do is turn it around and say, I can fix your life. I didn't plan to do this. I didn't plan to run for president, but I'm doing it for this country right now, and I don't need this crap, to be honest with you. I've got a job, I've got a family, I've got a fortune. She needs this job because it's the only thing that she's got, and it's all that she's planned for. And if you want a woman who is not in a position to be strong for us and believes in open borders, open trade, double talk, then you know what? Go right ahead and vote for her. You'll get what you deserve.
Man. They should be listening to you.
I was just thinking.
I'm serious. Wow. They ought to be. I don't know if they are or not, but they ought to be. Judge Jean, we're going to see you in St. Louis. I'll see you there tonight. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you, Judge. Good to hear from you this morning.
Bye-bye.
Woo. That was some good advice, though.
Yeah, very clear. Clear-thinking person.
All right, back to our top story this morning. Hurricane Matthew's path of destruction along the Atlantic coast. A massive cleanup underway at this hour. An update on Matthew's past. That is next. Well, we are tracking Hurricane Matthew, the Category 1 storm carving a path of destruction along the Atlantic coast, including this crumbling road. You can see right there in southern Florida. Entire cities are now underwater. More than 1 million people are without power, and at least 4 people are in that state are dead. That's in Savannah, Georgia, right there. You can see it's continuing on.
There is a lot of broken stuff in that storm's wake. All right, back again with the latest is Fox News Headlines chieftain Carly Shimkus. She's here with your thoughts on today's political news. I just gave you a new title, and it fits you well.
Thank you so much. So, talking about these 2 scandals today, one of the biggest criticisms that Donald Trump has had to face throughout his presidential race is that he's not presidential enough, his behavior, this and that. But Heather on Twitter and a lot of people say that the Clintons have done far worse. Heather tweets, if you are offended by lewd comments from 2005, yet not Benghazi or Bill Clinton's past, you are a hypocrite. So that's a pretty interesting comment there. I think a lot of people realize that both candidates did something wrong. Now it's just a battle of whose offense was worse.
Well, a lot more of this on the After the Show show.
Thanks a lot, Carly. It's great to see you. And thanks for sticking with us for 4 hours today. It was great to see you. We'll see you from St. Louis tomorrow.
Yeah, we will.